bank teller shreds a black CEO mother's check, but what happens next will leave you speechless. Jenna's heart raced as she watched the shredder devour the bright, colourful check. Time slowed down. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck, each second stretching taut with anxiety. The poor check didn't stand a chance. It meant everything. A substantial donation to help the local community. But here she was, standing frozen, hands trembling. Watching bits of paper swirl into a dark abyss, feeling the weight of her conservative upbringing press down on her like a heavy shroud. Just yesterday, she was worried about small-town gossip. Now, she feared losing everything. The shredder made a horrible grinding noise, echoing in the otherwise silent bank. Jenna's stomach lurched. She glanced around, hoping nobody had seen. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted Mrs. Thompson, an elderly patron with wild eyebrows raised. Mouth agape, the colour drained from Jenna's face. The irony twisted like a knife in her chest. It felt like a cruel joke played by the universe. Jenna was raised in a home where conformity was the only rule, where differences were treated with suspicion. She lived a life tightly wound, fearful of stepping off that straight and narrow path. Yet here she was, standing at the edge of her own making. Anxiety coursed through her veins like poison, rendering her unable to breathe. The weight of her internal struggles and past failures threatened to resurface, and she desperately wanted to sink into the floor and disappear. The bank lobby felt suffocating. She could hear the murmur of voices. It felt like the walls were closing in. "I can't believe she would do that," hissed a customer. "A check for the community? Who does she think she is?" The collective judgment oozed from those around her, creating an atmosphere thick with tension. But what Jenna didn't know was that Mia, now on a justice-seeking rampage, was digging deep in. Mia was a powerful woman, a force of nature, and her drive for social equity was unwavering. She would not rest until she uncovered the truth. Suddenly, amidst the chaos of shredded paper, a flash of yellow caught Jenna's eye. The remnants of the check held a secret. Hidden beneath the glaring whirls of patterned destruction was a message. Something larger was at stake here. A bigger donation that promised to transform their struggling community. Panic surged. Could this be the key to redemption? As time ticked away, Jenna faced not only the fallout from her mistake, but also the urgent need to confront both her past and Mia's wrath. How could she turn this around? How could she connect the threads of their lives, unearthing the truth before it was too late? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without any notice. Take a quick look at the red button bell. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching? I love getting to know every incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Panic surged through Jenna like an electric shock. The remnants of the check glimmered strangely, but the truth was wrapped in chaos. She couldn't just stand there. She needed to act. But how? Suddenly, the doors swung open with a fierce bang, and in strode Mia, her presence like a force of nature. The air was thick with anticipation. People turned. Whispers died down. Mia's eyes locked onto Jenna's, a storm brewing under her composed exterior. The muted murmurs returned, laced with surprise and judgment. "Jenna!" Mia's voice cut through the air, and Jenna felt her heart drop. "What have you done?" Jenna opened her mouth, but no words came. Every set of eyes felt like daggers piercing her. She took a shaky breath. It was an accident. An accident! Mia stepped closer, her brows knitting together, a fire igniting in her gaze. Do you think this is just an accident? This check was supposed to change lives. And you? But just then, the bank's fire alarm blared to life. A deafening siren that echoed through the walls. Stunned, the patrons froze. Then chaos erupted. People began scrambling for the exits, a wave of panic sweeping through the lobby. "We need to get out!" someone yelled. Jenna instinctively grabbed Mia's arm, pulling her toward the door. "Come on!" They dashed through the crowd, shoulders bumping, hearts racing. As they burst into the fresh air outside, Jenna's heart hammered in her chest. But just when she thought they could breathe, Mia gasped, eyes wide as she pulled away from Jenna's grip. "What is it?" Jenna asked, panting. Mia's hands trembled and her voice was barely a whisper. "We need to get out of here! This is bigger than a check!" She turned, scanning the crowd, her expression a mix of fear and determination. "You don't know what I've been researching. I uncovered something about your family." Jenna stumbled back, confusion washing over her. "My family? What do you mean? What do you know?" "Mia, wait!" But Mia was already moving away, her expression hardening. "Everything you've known, everything you've believed, it's built on lies. You're not ready for this." Jenna's legs felt like lead, her mind racing to catch up. The frantic atmosphere of the bank faded as a darkness enveloped her. The alarm continued to wail, but it felt distant now, as if it were a warning in another world. Mia's voice cut through the haze. "You have to trust me. The truth will come out, and it's not just about the check. If they find out..." Before she could finish, a loud crash echoed from the bank. The front windows shattered, sending shards of glass cascading onto the pavement. People screamed. Jenna grabbed Mia's arm, adrenaline pushing her to take action. "Let's go!" But as they turned to run, a figure emerged from the smoke and chaos. A tall man in a dark suit. His eyes were hidden beneath the brim of a hat, casting a shadow across his face. "Jenna!" he called, his voice a low rumble that sent chills down her spine. "It's time you learn the truth about your family's legacy and who you really are." As the panic climbed and the crowd surged, Jenna's breath hitched in her throat. What could he possibly mean? The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. "What truth?" she shouted back, desperation rising. But the figure only smiled, a slow, cutting grin that promised revelations and danger. Jenna's world spun as she faced the whirlwind. This was just the beginning. Jenna's heart raced, caught between panic and confusion. The man's presence loomed like a dark cloud. His voice had a way of freezing everything around him. What truth? Her mind raced, but she couldn't piece it together. Mia stood near her, eyes darting, reading the scene. The crowd surged, chaos swirling, but Jenna felt like she was stuck in molasses. She glanced back at the tall man. The shadows hid his intentions, but Jenna felt the weight of unspoken words. Before anyone could react, the man's hand shot into his pocket and pulled out something metallic, a gleaming object that caught the light. Jenna's stomach dropped. Just as she opened her mouth to scream, he hurled a flashbang device into the crowd. A blinding light exploded, engulfing the lobby in chaos. People cried out, stumbling back, their eyes wide in terror. Jenna covered her face instinctively, but it was too late. The floor seemed to tilt under her feet as bodies rushed towards the exits in sheer panic. Amidst the chaos, Mia grabbed Jenna's wrist, pulling her away from the mayhem. "We need to move," she shouted, adrenaline fueling her voice. They pushed through the throng, hearts pounding in sync. Jenna's mind was racing, struggling to comprehend what had just happened. But then, something remarkable occurred. As they hurried past the bank's shattered entrance, Jenna caught the faintest glimpse of the tall man through the scattered people. He was still standing, unscathed. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Jenna felt a strange connection, a flicker of recognition. Or was it remorse? Then it happened. The man lifted his hands, and the air around them shimmered. A pulse shot through the crowd. In one swift motion, he shouted, "Enough!" The sound resonated like thunder, and an electric wave surged outwards, knocking people off their feet. Jenna stumbled, clutching Mia tightly. Everything went silent. An eerie calm amidst the panic. The crowd lay still, as if time had frozen. "Mia, what is happening?" Jenna whispered, her voice trembling. Mia's eyes widened, and she stepped closer to Jenna. "You don't understand. He's connected to your family. It's all tied to a secret that could destroy everything you thought you knew. You're part of it, Jenna. Your blood!" "Blood!" Jenna repeated, the weight of the word landing heavy in her chest. "What do you mean?" But before Mia could respond, the tall man stepped closer, his demeanor shifting. "They've been searching for you, Jenna. Your family has a history, one that intertwines with mine. The truth is far more complicated than you can imagine." Jenna's breath quickened. "What truth? I don't understand. My family, what do you mean?" His eyes bore into hers, dark and enigmatic. "You share more than just a bloodline. You also share a legacy, hidden beneath layers of lies. The check, Mia's movement, the community. It's all part of something bigger." Just then the ground trembled. A loud crack echoed as a heavy beam from the bank's ceiling collapsed, crashing down towards them. Jenna grabbed Mia, pulling her out of the way at the last second. The world turned chaotic again, but the man's unsettling words echoed in her mind. What legacy? What lies? But her voice was drowned out by the growing tumult. Fear gripped her heart. The man smiled grimly. "It's time for you to find out the real story of your roots, Jenna. But understand this, we're not the only ones looking, and they won't hesitate to act." As the dust settled, Jenna realized the truth was far beyond a mere philanthropic check. Just when she thought she was getting a grip, everything spiraled again. The man turned, fading into the shadows, leaving Jenna with more questions than answers. What could it all mean? And more importantly, Who was watching? The air felt charged with impending danger. This was only the beginning. As the dust settled, Jenna realized the truth was far beyond a mere philanthropic check. Just when she thought she was getting a grip, everything spiraled again. The man turned, fading into the shadows, leaving Jenna with more questions than answers. What could it all mean? And more importantly, who was watching? The air felt charged with impending danger. This was only the beginning. But before Jenna could gather her thoughts, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Jenna! Mia!" It was Mrs. Thompson, her voice trembling as she rushed toward them. Panic was etched on her face, mingling with urgency. "You have to listen! It's not safe here! We need to leave!" "Why?" Jenna managed to ask, still reeling from the strange encounter. But as Mrs. Thompson grabbed her arm, she felt the urgency seep into her bones. "What is it?" "Your family, Jenna. They're involved in something dangerous. I overheard things, conversations." Mrs. Thompson's words were shaky, but they carried weight. "What do you mean? What things?" Mia's eyes darted nervously to the bank, where terrified patrons were still stumbling out. Mrs. Thompson took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "There's a reason that man showed up, and it's not just about the check. Your family has connections, dealings, dark dealings. The police, they've been asking questions, Jenna. People don't just disappear for no reason." "Disappear?" Jenna's heart sank. "What people? Who are you talking about?" "Those who wanted to keep your family's involvement secret. There's money and power at stake. The check, it was meant to expose something, to unravel a web. And now that man, he knows." She glanced around, shaking her head, as if the chaos would swallow her words. Jenna felt sick. "Why are you telling me this? What do I have to do with it?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Because I care," Mrs. Thompson replied, her eyes misty. "You don't realize, Jenna, you're in danger. And so is Mia. They'll come for you if they find out you know." Mia pulled Jenna closer, her grip tightening like a lifeline. "We should go now!" But just as they turned to flee, another explosion rocked the street. Shattered glass erupted from the bank's windows. Raining down like deadly confetti, a deafening roar followed. It felt like the ground itself was rebelling. People screamed, scattering in all directions. Jenna coughed on the dust that invaded her lungs. She looked back at the bank, her heart racing. From the smoke, the tall man re-emerged. This time, he was not alone. A group of suits followed him, faces hardened with intent. "Get down!" Mia screamed as she yanked Jenna into a nearby alley. They ducked behind a wall, breaths shallow, hearts pounding like war drums. "Who are they?" Jenna whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. "Enemies," Mia hissed, watching intently. "They're here for you." "I don't know how, but they've been tracking you." Before Jenna could wrap her mind around the words, a sharp crack cut through the air and a bullet whizzed past, embedding itself in the wall beside them. The sound shattered the silence, shaking Jenna to her core. "Move!" Mia shouted, yanking Jenna further along the alley just as another shot rang out. Sweat dripped down Jenna's back, her pulse thrumming in her ears. "What the hell is happening?" Jenna gasped, her voice trembling. Then, as they turned the corner, she saw him again. The tall man, right in front of them. This time, he held a gun, pointed directly at Jenna. "Jenna," he growled, the ominous cadence of his voice casting a chilling blanket over her heart. "It's time for you to learn the truth, before it's too late." The air around her crackled with tension as Jenna felt time freeze. Would he reveal her family's secrets? What had she been dragged into? Everything felt perilously close to unraveling, and in that moment, as the world spun with chaos around her, she realized she was not just a bystander. She was part of the storm about to break. Could she face the truth? The question hung heavily between them, begging for an answer that could change everything. He growled, the gun steady in his hand, eyes dark with intent. "It's time for you to learn the truth, before it's too late." The words hung heavy in the air. Mia clutched Jenna's hand tighter, heart racing. Jenna's breathing quickened. Would this be the moment everything unraveled? But just then a loud roar broke through the chaos. The ground beneath their feet shook violently, knocking them off balance. Jenna stumbled, confusion swirling in her mind. What was happening? Then, before the shock wore off, it hit them. A massive armored vehicle barreled down the street, tires screeching, windows tinted. A plume of dust formed a cloud, blinding everyone in sight. The tall man's expression flickered, surprise cutting through his fierce demeanor. "Get inside!" he shouted, waving at the vehicle. The urgency in his voice was clear. It startled Jenna into action. Mia pulled Jenna toward the alley wall, ducking instinctively. "We can't trust him," she hissed. But the vehicle's tires spun, and doors swung open like a trap, revealing figures in tactical gear, armed and ready. "I said get in!" the tall man shouted again, and this time desperation tinged his tone. The chaos was palpable. People screamed, the alarm still ringing in the background. Jenna's heart pounded, panic clawing at her throat. "Mia, he could be our only chance!" Jenna gasped, already moving before she could think it through. She squeezed Mia's hand, urging her forward. "We don't have a choice!" Mia hesitated, fear warring with trust. But the serious danger kept looming. With a swift nod, they dashed toward the vehicle. As they leaped inside, the door slammed behind them, sealing them in a metallic cocoon. The men in tactical gear jumped into action, shouting orders, the sound smothering the chaos outside. "Doe, go!" one shouted, fingers flying over a switchboard. Jenna's world spun. She looked at the tall man. "What's happening? Why is everyone after us?" Her voice trembled as the vehicle jolted to life, lurching forward, pushing through the crowd. "Your family," he began, but the vehicle's roar drowned him out. Suddenly, the engine sputtered. The entire vehicle shuddered, lights flickering. "Hold on!" the driver shouted, maneuvering sharply. Then it hit Jenna. All of this was because of her family? But before she could ask, the tall man leaned closer. "I'm not who you think. I just wanted to protect you." His voice dipped, a softened edge emerging through his hard facade. And just like that, everything shifted. From the back of the vehicle, a voice rang out, a young woman, barely visible behind the armed men. "Wait! You can't trust him! He's lying!" Her eyes were wild, panic dancing across her face. "Who are you?" Jenna asked, confusion crashing over her like a wave. No time! You need to know everything is a lie. The man you're with, he's more connected to your family than you can imagine. What? Jenna's heart raced faster. What are you talking about? The girl looked around. Fear sharpening her features. Your family didn't just disappear. Your parents had enemies. Powerful ones. Her voice trembled. And they're coming for you! All of you! Mia's grip tightened around Jenna's wrist. This doesn't make sense. It does! The girl spoke urgently. Jenna, you have to remember. Your mother, she knew the truth. You're not just an innocent bystander in this. The tall man's eyes narrowed, shifting ever so slightly. Enough! He barked. But the words hung in the air, heavy with implications, igniting Jenna's fears. Then the vehicle jolted again, crashing into something. No, someone! The sickening thud echoed like a heartbeat. What was that? Mia gasped, eyes wide. We're being followed, one of the armed men shouted, looking back at the scene outside. Jenna's heart sank. Who is it? She pleaded, desperate for answers. But the girl spoke again, urgency spilling from her lips. Jenna, please, your life is in danger. And that check, it connects all of this. The vehicle veered sharply, sending everyone tumbling. The world outside exploded as they sped away, leaving chaos behind. With every second, Jenna's nerves wound tighter. Their reality, just like the street they fled, was unraveling. Secrets poured in, threats closing in, and her connection to it all lingered, like a puzzle she couldn't see. Who am I really? Jenna whispered, feeling the walls close in. But there was no answer, only the taunt of shadows chasing them. The air felt electric with danger, and somewhere in the silence that followed, everything Jenna thought she knew began to shatter like glass. The truth was lurking, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to change everything. Jenna felt a storm brewing inside her chest as the vehicle sped through the streets. Every bump and jolt magnified her fear, making her heart thud wildly against her ribs. The girl in the back had unleashed a fury of secrets, and now everything felt like a breath away from breaking apart. Who are you? Jenna gasped, her voice barely a whisper. She needed answers desperately. The girl's eyes flared with urgency. Trust me, your family isn't who you think they are. They're involved in something deeper, something dark. The weight of her words threatened to crush Jenna. What do you mean? How do you know? She pressed. Suddenly, the vehicle skidded around a corner, and with a shocking lurch, it collided with something hard. A loud bang pierced through the air, triggering chaos. Jenna's stomach knotted as the armoured vehicle came to a harsh stop. Everyone out, came a shout, commanding and fierce. The men jumped out, weapons at the ready. The tall man motioned for Jenna and Mia to follow. They scrambled out, searching for safety as confusion enveloped them, swirling like smoke. Where are we? Jenna shouted, her voice strained with panic. Get behind the wall! Liam, the tall man, barked. Ducking behind a concrete structure, Jenna's heart raced. She forced herself to see the bigger picture. The air thickened with danger. A strange feeling washed over her, tinged with dread. Mia glanced at Jenna, terror etched across her face. Why are we here? But just as Jenna opened her mouth to respond, everything shifted. A blinding light erupted from the distance, illuminating the street like a lightning bolt. The ground shook violently again, sending tremors through their feet. "What's happening?" Jenna cried, scrambling for balance. Then, amidst the chaos, she saw him, the tall man from the bank, standing alone. He was framed by the light, face hardening into an expression Jenna couldn't read. "Turn back now!" he shouted into the void, eyes darting. "You don't know what you're getting into!" Suddenly, the ground split open with a loud crack. A chasm forming in front of them, as if the earth itself was rejecting the truth about to come out. Mia screamed, panic bursting from her. In that moment, Jenna felt gravity pull them apart, a wave of fear washing over her. But Jenna hesitated. She caught the tall man's gaze. It flickered briefly, a flash of something human beneath. Confusion made her voice tremble. "Wait!" Before she could process what was happening, a flash appeared beyond the chasm. A vivid burst of color. A memory? A vision? The world spun as whispers filled her ears. Echoes of her childhood, playing as flashes of just barely remembered moments. "Jenna!" The girl's voice broke through the chaos. "You're connected to her mother!" The thought struck like a bolt of lightning. "What do you mean?" But just then, without a moment's warning, destiny struck. The chasm widened, pulling them dangerously close. Screams erupted around them as people rushed to escape, feet pounding the pavement in chaotic rhythm. And in the midst of it all, the tall man shouted something that pierced through the noise. "Jenna, your mother was more than just a mother. She was part of this." Everything froze. Jenna felt her heart stop. What? Her mother? The ground shook violently again, and before Jenna could grasp the haunting revelation, a figure emerged from the shadows, familiar yet terrifying. Her mother, standing there, eyes locked onto Jenna's, filled with a mixture of pain and urgency. "Jenna! Mom!" The word escaped her lips in disbelief, her world tilting into chaos. "What are you doing here?" But before her mother could respond, the light grew brighter, engulfing everything. The tall man took a step back, eyes wide. "No! You can't be here! You're not supposed to be here!" "What are you talking about?" Jenna cried, confusion spiraling within her. Then the earth rumbled, and Jenna realized everything she thought she knew was about to change. She stared at her mother, searching for answers that danced just out of reach. "Trust no one!" her mother shouted, just as the ground beneath them gave way. Jenna reached out, but the chasm swallowed the space between them. The world once full of certainty and safety shattered, the air filled with screams. Jenna's vision darkened, reality fracturing, leaving her grasping for the threads of everything she thought she knew. And in that split second, as the earth unleashed its fury, Jenna's fate hung in the balance. Was her mother the ally she hoped for, or another layer of lies waiting to reveal itself? As darkness enveloped her, the weight of the truth pressed harder than ever. The world tilted as if the earth itself was rejecting everything Jenna thought she knew. She reached out, heart racing, desperate for her mother. "Mum, please, don't leave me!" But just then a blinding flash erupted and everything went dark. For a heartbeat, Jenna felt nothing but silence. Then came the sound, a low hum, a pulsing energy that pressed against her chest. She blinked, struggling to adjust to the sudden void. When the light returned, the once familiar faces had shifted, morphing into something eerie. Jenna narrowed her eyes, trying to process what lay before her. The streets were gone, replaced by a vast, dark room filled with shadows and whispers. Broken furniture lay scattered around, remnants of what once was. "Jenna!" her mother called again, but the sound felt different, echoed, almost trapped. Jenna spun around. "Where are we? What's happening?" Panic bubbled in her chest, almost choking her. Then an ear-piercing slam echoed as a heavy door creaked open at the far end of the room. Light spilled in, throwing shadows in every direction. A figure emerged, familiar yet somehow changed. It was her mother, but her eyes glowed with a brightness Jenna had never seen. "Mom?" Jenna felt a chill crawl down her spine, her heart pounding in a frantic rhythm. "What's going on?" "Jenna, it's time to choose." Her voice was calm, but layered with something else, a gravity that pulled at Jenna's soul. "Choose?" Jenna echoed, feeling the walls close in. A wave of dread washed over her. "Choose what?" Her mother stepped closer, luminous with an unsettling light. "This is not just about you anymore. It's bigger than any of us. A legacy tied to your family. You need to understand what I've kept from you." "Mom, please, you're scaring me." Jenna's voice trembled, the lump in her throat growing heavier. "Everything you believe is a lie." Her mother's words cut through the haze. "There's more at stake than you can imagine. We must end the cycle." "End what cycle?" But before her mother could respond, another sound shattered their moment. A crash from behind the door. The shape of a man slipped through the opening, a silhouette that made Jenna's heart stop. It was the tall man, the one from before, but he wore a different expression. This time, there was fear. "Get away from her!" he shouted, eyes wide. "Stay back!" Jenna's mother replied, sharp and commanding. "What's happening?" Jenna cried, darting between them, desperately trying to piece the reality together. "What is this place?" "The truth!" the tall man began, stepping forward. "Your mother has kept it hidden, Jenna. She's lying to you." Jenna felt the ground beneath her tremble, a sense of betrayal curling around her chest like a vine. "Lying? Your family, their darkness runs deep." He pointed at Jenna's mother, his gaze intense. "She's entwined with forces you don't understand. The people she was protecting you from, they're not just enemies. They are part of what you must confront." "No!" Jenna gasped, shaking her head fiercely. "You're wrong! She's my mother!" The room vibrated with tension. A silence stretched, heavy and oppressive. Then one unexpected word shattered the entire foundation of Jenna's reality. "Adoption!" Jenna's breath hitched. "What?" "Your mother isn't your biological mother. You were taken from your true family when you were a baby." The tall man's voice echoed, refusing to forgive. "She lied to you to protect herself. Reality spiraled, a cacophony of confusion and raw emotion flooding Jenna's mind. Everything she thought was real twisted into a mirage of deception. Was she truly a stranger in her own life? The lump in her throat grew, threatening to choke her. Jenna, her mother, reached out, but the distance felt infinite. "Don't!" Jenna yelled, stepping back, raw nerves sparking like electricity. The air crackled with uncertainty. "What will you do, Jenna?" The tall man inched closer, his eyes locked onto hers. "It's your choice now." In that moment, the shadows around her whispered secrets, their truth hanging heavy like a storm cloud. Jenna stood at the crossroads of her identity, teetering on the brink of revelation. "Who am I, really?" she gasped, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. And as the room pulsed with energy, a deep silence fell. Everyone seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the storm to break. In that heavy air, the truth lingered just out of reach, teasing her with the promise of revelation. What would she discover next? Jenna felt a storm brewing inside her chest as the vehicle sped through the streets. Every bump and jolt magnified her fear, making her heart thud wildly against her ribs. The girl in the back had unleashed a fury of secrets, and now everything felt like a breath away from breaking apart. "Who are you?" Jenna gasped, her voice barely a whisper. She needed answers, desperately. The girl's eyes flared with urgency. "Trust me. Your family isn't who you think they are. They're involved in something deeper, something dark." The weight of her words threatened to crush Jenna. "What do you mean? How do you know?" she pressed. Suddenly, the vehicle skidded around a corner, and with a shocking lurch, it collided with something hard. A loud bang pierced through the air, triggering chaos. Jenna's stomach knotted as the armored vehicle came to a harsh stop. "Everyone out!" came a shout, commanding and fierce. The men jumped out, weapons at the ready. The tall man motioned for Jenna and Mia to follow. They scrambled out, searching for safety as confusion enveloped them. "Where are we?" Jenna shouted, her voice strained with panic. "Get behind the wall!" Liam, the tall man, barked. Ducking behind a concrete structure, Jenna's heart raced. She forced herself to see the bigger picture. The air thickened with danger. A strange feeling washed over her, tinged with dread. Mia glanced at Jenna, terror etched across her face. "Why are we here?" But just as Jenna opened her mouth to respond, everything shifted. A blinding light erupted from the distance, illuminating the street like a lightning bolt. The ground shook violently again, sending tremors through their feet. "What's happening?" Jenna cried, scrambling for balance. Then, amidst the chaos, she saw him, the tall man from the bank, standing alone. He was framed by the light, face hardening into an expression Jenna couldn't read. "Turn back, now!" He shouted into the void, eyes darting. "You don't know what you're getting into." Suddenly, the ground split open with a loud crack, a chasm forming in front of them, as if the earth itself was rejecting the truth about to come out. "Run!" Mia screamed, panic bursting from her. In that moment, Jenna felt gravity pull them apart, a wave of fear washing over her. But Jenna hesitated. She caught the tall man's gaze. It flickered briefly, a flash of something human beneath. Confusion made her voice tremble. Wait! Before she could process what was happening, a flash appeared beyond the chasm. A vivid burst of colour. A memory? A vision? The world spun as whispers filled her ears. Echoes of her childhood playing, as flashes of just barely remembered moments. Jenna! Her mother's voice broke through the chaos. Listen to him! Mum? Jenna felt a chill crawl down her spine, her heart pounding in a frantic rhythm. What are you doing here? But just then, a shadow loomed behind her mother. A figure emerging from the darkness with purpose. A man stepped into the light. Someone Jenna vaguely recognized, her biological father. Jenna! He called out, desperation painting his voice. You need to come with me now. We don't have much time. Her heart dropped. Dad? But I thought... Your mother wanted to protect you, but the truth is, she's part of something terrible. He gestured towards her mother, eyes wild with a mix of fear and anger. She's been hiding all of this from you. Everything Jenna knew twisted into a knot, leaving her gasping for explanation. What are you talking about? What does this mean? Your family has legacy ties to an underground network. The man stepped closer, urgency lacing every word. They're involved in things that will endanger us all. The check. It wasn't just an accident. It's a key to exposing the whole operation. Then, just as she began to piece the puzzle together, the ground shook again, violently this time. A fissure opened up beneath Jenna's feet. In an instant, she felt herself falling, the abyss yawning wide. Mia! Liam! She shouted as everything blurred into chaos. But as she plummeted into the darkness, the last thing she heard was her mother's scream, an echo of fear that seemed to stretch across eternity. And then it all faded. Jenna found herself suspended in a vast void, filled with hazy images and fragmented memories, as everything she'd known spiraled away into nothingness. Suddenly, a blinding light flashed before her, revealing a room, a table, and powerful people discussing in hushed tones. Send her to the council. She's the last hope. A voice commanded, authority lacing every word. Jenna froze, the horror settling like ice in her veins. Hope? What hope did she have left? As the reality of her identity loomed larger than life, an overwhelming question emerged. What had it all meant? Who could she trust? The darkness and light shifted, spinning her fate into places she couldn't yet see. And in that surreal moment, Jenna realized her life had never been her own. As everything blurred and flowed together, she found herself at the heart of a story far bigger than she could have ever imagined. Jenna felt a storm brewing inside her chest as the world twisted before her. Her mind raced, grappling with the chaos. What had her mother been hiding all these years? What truth was buried beneath the layers of lies? The light flickered, and around her shadows whispered secrets. The tall man stood there, tense and watchful. But Jenna's focus was solely on her mother. The glowing presence of her mother felt both familiar and alien, promising warmth, yet harboring an icy distance. "Mom!" Jenna called again, but the urgency in her voice just echoed back to her, swallowed by the heavy silence. What's going on? Jenna, listen, her mother insisted. But there was a flicker of something else in her eyes. Fear? Regret? Jenna couldn't tell. But before another word could escape, the tall man turned sharply toward the door. "We need to get out of here!" he shouted, his voice raw with urgency. Jenna's heart raced. "What do you mean? What's happening?" He didn't answer. Instead, he whipped around, pushing her mother aside and shoving Jenna back toward the wall. "Stay behind me!" She stumbled, her breath hitching as terror clawed at her throat. Why was he acting so defensively? The air turned electric around them, thick with tension. Then a deafening crash rang out, the door bursting open. Shadows poured in, figures rushing through, voices raised in fury. "Get them!" a voice roared, echoing with authority. The tall man stepped forward, arms spread wide as if to shield Jenna and her mother. But as the chaos erupted, he suddenly stumbled back, a knife plunging into his side, a movement so quick it felt surreal. "Liam!" Jenna screamed, horror creeping up her spine. "Jenna, run!" he gasped, blood staining his shirt. The world tilted. Confusion swirled as Jenna's heart plummeted. "No, Liam!" But then, in the midst of the chaos, said the biddling man. "Hey, man!" The dead man's brain, gripping exceedingly, she enzored. This magical moment. Let's leave Jenna and her mother. But then, in the midst of the chaos, something snapped. A mother's transformation was swift, her hands curling into fists of glowing energy. The room vibrated with power. "Step back, Jenna!" she commanded, her voice resonating with authority Jenna had never known. "What, Mum? What are you doing?" "Trust me!" A flash of anger mixed with desperation surged from her mother, and then she spoke words Jenna couldn't comprehend, a language that made the air pulse with energy. The shadows seemed to writhe, twisting against the light emanating from her mother. Jenna felt a force pushing her back, a wave of magic or some forgotten power. The attackers froze, eyes wide, caught off guard as if under a spell. "Why are you doing this?" Jenna asked, confusion blooming like a deadly flower. "I'm saving you!" her mother shouted. "You need to understand! Our family isn't just any family!" Then, the impossible happened. The tall man, Liam, rose up despite the knife still lodged in his side. His eyes glinted, a strange fire igniting behind the pain. "She's right about one thing," he snapped, voice laced with determination. "But she's been lying too. Jenna, your mother, she isn't who she says she is." Everything stopped. Jenna's breath caught, confusion tearing through her. "What?" But the interruption was swift. The figures in the doorway regained their composure, weapons drawn, ready to move. "Get her!" one of them shouted. Liam stumbled forward, a last effort to protect Jenna. "The truth is bigger than any of us. You're not just part of this world. You're meant to change it." But Jenna's focus was torn between Liam and her mother. All she could manage was confusion, her heart racing, heavy with a weight she couldn't bear. Then, in a flash of light, her mother smirked, a cruel twist of lips that sent shivers down Jenna's spine. "Yes, dear, but remember, you're part of a much larger plan." Jenna's heart sank. "What plan?" And just like that, time itself fractured. With a blinding clap of thunder, The walls cracked, and whirlwind energy enveloped them. As everything unraveled, a secret hung in the air. The very foundation of Jenna's reality was shifting under her feet. Confusion morphed into dread, as secrets loomed larger than life itself. What had she stepped into? A voice echoed amid the rumble, heavy with the weight of truth and despair. You'll have to decide who to trust, Jenna, before it's too late. The violence cascaded around them, and everything she thought she knew splintered into a fog of lost trust and awakening fears. The shadows deepened, and Jenna stood frozen, wondering how she could ever make sense of it all again. As the chaos erupted around them, Jenna felt the room pulse with energy. Darkness colliding with light. Her mother's voice cut through the confusion with authority. But Jenna's heart raced with doubt. "What are you hiding from me?" she pleaded, the lump in her throat choking her. "Everything you thought you knew is about to change," her mother shouted. "You need to trust me, Jenna." But trust felt like a fragile thread, ready to snap. The tall man, Liam, clutched his side, pain evident on his face, yet determination glinted in his eyes. "Jenna, you have to see the truth," he demanded, urgency in every syllable. "Your mother has been living a lie just as much as you have." The figures rushing in from the shadows hesitated, caught between their mission and the revelations cracking the air like thunder. Jenna's heart raced, adrenaline buzzing in her veins. "Mom, is this true? Was I taken? What's happening?" Before her mother could reply, the room trembled, the walls vibrating under unseen pressure. "All of them want to control the narrative. You have the power to change it," Liam urged, stepping closer, despite his injury. The air crackled as shadows flickered around them like candle flames about to be extinguished. "You need to make your choice now," he said, voice low and intense. "With this truth comes responsibility. Choose wisely." Jenna felt dizzy. The weight of her existence pressed down on her like a heavy cloak. Everything she thought she knew teetered on the brink of collapse. "What if I can't handle it?" "Then you'll let their darkness win," her mother said, desperation creeping into her voice. "You've got to fight." Suddenly, the room exploded with activity. The attackers surged forward, chaos unfurling like a storm. Jenna's instincts kicked in. She grabbed Mia's hand tight. "We have to get out of here." They bolted for the nearest exit, shadows twisting ominously around them. Monica, the girl from the vehicle, darted alongside them. "Follow me! I know a way!" she yelled, leading them through an archway. But just as they dashed through, Jenna turned back to see Liam struggling against the shadows, a fierce fight raging in his eyes. "Go! I'll hold them off!" he shouted, determination brightening his face despite the pain. "Liam, no!" But they were already moving, pulled into the corridor. Jenna felt tears prick at her eyes, but pressed on. They needed to escape. As they pushed through the door, the sounds of chaos faded behind them, replaced by an eerie silence. They stumbled into a dim alley, the air cool against their flushed skin. Panting, Jenna turned to Mia, searching for reassurance, but only finding fear reflected back. "What now?" Mia tightened her grip. "We regroup. We need to find out what to do next." Just then, Jenna's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her eyes wide. A message flashed on the screen. "Meet me at the old library. I have answers." "Who is it?" Mia asked, brows knitted together in worry. "I don't know, but it's our only lead." Jenna took a deep breath, feeling the enormity of what lay ahead. "We have to go." As they headed toward the library, anticipation fought with dread in her stomach. What would they discover? Jenna's heart was heavy, burdened with questions that wouldn't fade. The truth felt like a double-edged sword, a promise of liberation entwined with the fear of losing everything she had ever known. And just like that, as the library loomed closer, shadows loomed larger around them. The truth was out there, ready to shatter the facade of her life. All she had to do was reach for it. The darkness felt closer than ever, a whisper against her back. But they were ready to face it, weren't they? As they pushed forward, one thought consumed Jenna. This was the moment everything would change. If you've made it this far, you need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5